Hello everyone. This is your friend from Naruto Audio Fanfics, and we are back once again with a brand new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto Uzumaki faced the Lionheart challenge and grew stronger with Hinata by his side, Naruto times Hinata times Kurama times Konoha, Part 2. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit the like button, thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing Naruto fanfics like this. So without wasting any more time, let's start today's fanfic. Block, 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 block. That was all Naruto could do at the moment because he was acting on pure instincts. In the time he had been learning Kenjutsu from Renji, he learned Renji did not pull any strikes. Naruto still felt the phantom pains from the strike to his chest and the strike to the ribs and his arms and wrist. Renji smirked as Naruto has been blocking him for an hour as Renji picked up speed and thought, "Not bad kid, but let's see you handle this." As suddenly all Naruto could see was blurs and his sword was knocked away, and Naruto sighed before he started to repeat the same saying Renji had forced him to say every time he lost the blade, but this time Renji did not stop his attack but sliced Naruto in the side and said, "This is a fight, Naruto, not a little kid game. I will not stop my attacks on you even if you lose your weapon because an enemy will not stop." Naruto quickly rolled out of the way of Renji's strike and leaps for the sword only to get kicked in the side. Naruto frowned and tried to get around Renji for the blade, but Renji was cutting him off each time, and Naruto faked right and rolled left and dodged a strike before he brought the sword up from a half crouch to intercept Renji's strike. Renji blurred out of sight and Naruto frowned and said, "I can't see you," only to feel a blade against his neck. Renji said, "Your instincts are good, boy, but your speed and reaction time are still too slow." Tsunade said she wanted to start your ninjutsu training again, so today you will start working on your that, but to help you with your speed and strength I have a present for you. Naruto blinked and asked, "You almost killed me just to tell me you got a gift for me." Renji released Naruto and said, "Yes, I did. Come," as he began to lead Naruto out of the courtyard. Soon they walked into a stock room and Renji said, "This is the castle armory," as he walked toward the back of the room, and he said, "Here it is," as he reached over and grabbed what appeared to be a huge roll of black tape. Naruto asked, "What is that?" Renji smirked and said, "This is something special my clan created a long time ago. No one outside of the clan has ever even seen this stuff before, so you are receiving a special gift of not only seeing it but getting to use it. This is magnetic weights. Inside this normal-looking binding is little tiny threads of metal that are magnetized that affect you by the magnetic forces in the air. The metal is in everything here in Lightning Country. In fact, most believe this metal is the cause of our lightning storm, which is why people try to stay away from it or dig it up and move away from their homes to keep their homes from being struck by lightning." Naruto said, "Then why are you giving this to me? Trying to get me electrocuted?" Renji burst out laughing and said, "No, and that is the secret of these things. They have been perfectly balanced to where they are totally neutral. Not positive or negative. They absorb the positive and negative particles in the air and which power the weights. The more power they have, the heavier the weights get, so the more you move the more they weight, and in reverse the less you move the less they weigh. Get it?" Naruto asked. "Then how do they help me? I don't get it." Renji said, "Alright, say you run 10 laps at your top speed in 5 minutes without these on. Now with them, if you push yourself to do those same 10 laps in 5 minutes, you will actually be running those laps in like 4.5 minutes when you take the weights off." Naruto rubbed his head and asked, "Then what makes these different than regular weights? From what I understand, you wear weight, you get heavier and slower, and then you take them off, you are faster. At least that was what happened with Fuzzy Brows." Renji smirked and said, "That is true about regular weights, and what makes these weights so special is it does not train your body very much in long-range speed attacks but short burst of speeds. The kind needed for lethal strikes in Kenjutsu. These weights slowly increase your overall speed like normal weights, but not by over-muscling your body. Instead, they work on fine-tuning your muscles to work at a certain speed, and then when you are calm and ready, you push your body to attack, which will then be lethal and unprepared for, because the enemy you are fighting will be used to you working at one speed and not anticipate your true speed. Remember, samurai use our armor-like weights to increase our overall speed even further than normal, and you will most likely pick up some weights for your arms, legs and chest to increase your overall speed, but since this looks like normal binding and you use it like normal binding for your arms, legs, and body. Then you have a secret surprise that will allow you, when you're standing calm waiting for the enemy, you can then use the true speed that is not possible when you're fighting full force. Do you get it? Naruto thought a moment and said, this is for that quick draw thing I saw some of your men doing, right? Where they just disappear for a second or two and then reappear while the target gets destroyed. Renji said, exactly, this is what trains our clan to use that attack. Naruto looked at it and said, cool. Who would have thought? Renji said, yeah, it is pretty cool. Now remember, you can't tell anyone about this stuff since it is so treasured by my clan. Naruto said, I won't, I promise. And Naruto Uzumaki keeps his promises, as he looked sad for a moment. Renji said, sometimes a promise can't be kept. The one with the Uchiha is such a promise. You can't save those who don't want to be saved. Now let me show you how to put this on, and then I will give you a set of chest, leg, and arm armor to help with your normal weight training for now until you get some actual weights. The next day, as the sun rose over the Hokage monument, the guards at the gate were relaxing bored when a stomping sound was heard and one guard asked, hey, do you hear that? The other guard said, yeah, sounds like army or something. The first guard said, alert the Anbu. The other guard nods and runs in to find an Anbu. About 20 minutes later, the walls were lined with ninja ready to fight when the first person in the army appeared, and it was a Fire Temple guard, and an Asuma said, don't attack. Those are the Fire Lord's temple guards. As they approached the walls to the village, they stopped and the sound of stomping could still be heard, and down the road another group appeared and Asuma jumped down and said, what's going on, Master Ryu? As he approached one of the temple guards. Ryu said, the Fire Lord is coming along with his entire samurai guard and each of the temple guards from the Fire Temple. He is not very happy at the moment, and if your people are seen as hostile, he will most likely have us destroy Konoha. So I would tell the Rokudaime Hokage Jiraiya to tell his men to stand down. Asuma blinked and Jiraiya's voice carried over all the ninja. You heard him. Stand down now and prepare for the Fire Lord's arrival. Making all look at him as he now stood in Hokage robes with the kanji for Rokudaime on the back. Everyone was thinking, where is Tsunade? And Jiraiya said, all will be explained later today. Now prepare for the Fire Lord's arrival, or there won't be a later, because his men will kill us all. You may not know it, but if he is bringing his entire samurai guard, then that is over 1,500 men all coming along with the 120 Fire Temple guards from the 10 Fire Temples. Then he could destroy us no problem if he chose to now stand down, using his voice very commanding. Each of the ninja frowned and quickly began to leave, and soon all that was left was a few stragglers and the guards at the gate, and Jiraiya walked between the gate's guards and waited. A few minutes later, the sight of hundreds of fully armored and armed samurai appeared in the distance with the Fire Lord's mounted carriage in the middle, and they stopped as they reached the gates, and they moved aside as the carriage came to stop at the gates. The door to the carriage opened and the Fire Lord stepped out, and he said, Captains, go through the village and bring every man, woman, and child to the town center around the Hokage Tower for a meeting. If any resist, then kill them. The samurai all began to move past Jiraiya, who was still standing there, into the village, ordering the 2 guards at the gate to go to the town center as ordered, while 2 samurai replaced them. As half of them entered the village, the others began to circle around the village. The Fire Lord shot Jiraiya a glare and said, I have much to ask, Hokage, and I demand answers. Jiraiya said, I have only come to power this morning when you arrived, so you could witness my taking over and acknowledging the Godaime final orders. The Fire Lord said, I am aware of this and I will remember that when I deal with you. However, there are many here I am displeased with in your village, and I am prepared to kill them all should I not be satisfied with the answers I receive. If you or anyone interferes, then their life is forfeited. Jiraiya said, I understand. As he bowed. The Fire Lord said, good, now lead me to your office. Jiraiya nods and leads him toward the Hokage Tower along with all of the Fire Temple guards, ignoring all the people being led there under armed escort. Most still in their night cloths. As they got to the tower, there were several people already there, including members of the council as well as several ninja and civilians, and the Fire Lord said, empty the Hokage Tower of everyone and do not let anyone in besides Jiraiya and myself. If they refuse to leave, kill them. Shall we? Jiraiya's face was neutral at the shocked looks the council members who were there gave as the Fire Lord said to kill them if they tried to enter, and Jiraiya led him to the Hokage office and he unsealed the doors and said, Tsunade wanted to ensure no one entered between the time she left and I took over. The Fire Lord said nothing and he walked over and sat down in the Hokage chair and said, I am very displeased in your village, Jiraiya. Jiraiya said, so am I, sir. The Fire Lord said, good, then there is hope for this village. Now we wait. An hour later everyone was assembled and the Fire Lord walked out on the balcony of the Hokage Tower and looked over the crowd below and he said, as you all can see, I have called a meeting. Before I begin, know that my men have orders. Should anyone interrupt me or try to resist any, they will be killed immediately. The people of Konoha has much to answer for and I will demand answers. Now where are the members of the council? I want you all to move to the front of the crowd so I can see you all and get my answers, and I mean all members of the council. As the shocked people in the crowd began to move to allow the council members through, they began to look scared, and when they all arrived at the front, the Fire Lord said, good, I see you can follow orders from your superiors. Now as you all can see, Tsunade Senju is not here right now. Because of recent actions of the council, she gave her 2-week notice, assigning Jiraiya as her replacement after making several final rulings. Now the first question I have is, why did the council believe that they had the right to use my name and office to threaten their village leader with the execution of a Konoha ninja if she refused to banish the ninja? Making several people wide-eyed. Kaharu said, we did not threaten the Godime. We merely stated that her blatant favoritism to a threat to the village could not go on, and because of his actions the village lost the last Uchiha. The Fire Lord said, really? From all the reports I read, the Uchiha left the village by himself after knocking out his female teammate who tried to stop him, joining 4 Junin level ninja who were Orochimaru personal bodyguards of his own free, which resulted in the death of 4 Chunin who were returning to the village, as well as the near death of 5 Genin and 1 Chunin when he not only refused to aid the recovery team but went by himself to Orochimaru while the others were fighting and dying. From the reports I read, the one you banished was able to catch up to the Uchiha who then fought him, driving 2 assassination level jutsu into the boy's chest as well as nearly breaking his neck, leaving the boy for dead as he continued on to Orochimaru. So tell me exactly how it was the boy's fault. He was not the team leader for the mission, so why did you blame him for the Uchiha actions? Why did you threaten to have him executed or banished while he was in a coma fighting to live? Several people were stunned since the council had forbidden all information about the mission to recover the Uchiha. Homaru said, based on the law created by the Nadaime Hokage, during wartime like we are now, any shinobi who fails a mission that endangers the village can be either executed or banished depending on the decision of the Hokage. The loss of the Uchiha to an enemy is a threat to the village. The Fire Lord said, really? Then why is it that Sasuke Uchiha is not in the bingo book for treason? After all, going to the enemy during wartime is considered treason if I remember correctly. No matter. After today I will simply post the bounty of $1 million on the head of the Uchiha, dead or alive, for all the headaches he has caused me. Making several people shout out. The Fire Lord screamed, kill them. As several people who were shouting suddenly were killed by swords or knives, including 2 council members, shocking everyone. Once everyone was silent and a few people crying, the Fire Lord said, I trust there will be no further outburst like that, or I will simply stop this trial and kill everyone in the village and burn it down. Danzo asked, if I may ask, Fire Lord Sama, why are you so hostile toward our village over a matter that does not concern you, trying to gain control of this situation? The Fire Lord said, that is where you are wrong, council member. The council made it my concern when you used my name and office when you were dealing with your own matters. Now the situation has gotten so far out of hand that 6 countries have cut off all dealings with the Fire Country, and I am losing around $6 million a week thanks to you. I have even received threats of war on not just Konoha but the entire Fire Country because of you bringing me into this matter. Wind Country, Spring Country, Wave Country, Tea Country, Lightning Country and Rice Field Country are all calling for the total destruction of Konoha. In fact, the Lightning Feudal Lord has issued a $25,000 reward for each of the civilian council members head, of $500,000 for Danzo, Kaharu, and Homaru head. Then he also has issued $5,000 on over 600 citizens of Konoha for attacks on his family. Hiashi said, excuse me, Fire Sama, but I am not aware of any Konoha citizen attacking any member of Lightning Sama family. The Fire Lord said, that is where you are wrong. I have read the Anbu reports of the matter myself. Perhaps I should tell you the name of the Lightning Lord. His name is Ichigo Uzumaki, brother to Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze and uncle to Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the only child of the Yondaime Hokage of Konoha. Making nearly everyone gasp. A civilian said, "There is no way the demon brat is the son of the Yondaime. Besides, he was never married." Jiraiya chuckled and said, "Actually, he was married 2 years before the Kyuubi attack, and Naruto is Minato's son. Why else would he have chosen him for such a heavy burden that you all have hated and persecuted him for? I see most of the younger generation is confused as to what we are speaking, so I will tell the truth of what happened the night the Kyuubi attacked. The Yondaime was the strongest ninja ever, but there was no way he could kill the Kyuubi. Anyone who fought the Kyuubi that night could tell you how strong it was and how many died trying to hold it off. They can also tell you that the Yondaime did not arrive on the battlefield for over 4 hours. The reason he was not there was because his wife Kushina was in labor giving birth to his son. Minato knew that there was no way to kill the Kyuubi as it was, so he discovered a process to summon the Shinigami to help stop the Kyuubi, but he had to have something he could place the Kyuubi in where it would not be able to escape. The only thing strong enough to hold the Kyuubi and keep it from breaking free is a newborn child. A child is required because their chakra coils are not developed yet, and so as the child grows they would slowly absorb the demon's chakra, making it their own, and when they die they would take the demon with them. Minato was too kind-hearted to ask another parent to give up their own child if he was not also willing to do it. He sealed the Kyuubi into his son at the cost of his life, and all he asked was that we see his son as the hero he was. Not even an hour after the Kyuubi was sealed was people calling for Naruto death and several trying to attack and kill him. 98 shinobi and 339 civilians died in the riot after the Sandaime informed the village of Minato's final sacrifice, leaving out the fact Naruto was Minato's son to protect Konoha from Iwa, who would have came and killed everyone in our weakened state. The Sandaime passed a law that no one was to tell the younger generation so that Naruto could grow up living a normal life, and any who broke the law was punishable up to being executed. Those 600 that have a reward on their head from the Lightning Lord were the 600 worst attackers on Naruto. He was hated and abused his entire life, and all he did was smile and try and make people laugh. Danzo said, "Stop with the sad story. The boy should have been made a weapon like every other village has done with their Jinchuriki. Take Gaara for example, a perfect Jinchuriki, trained from birth to use the demon's power and kill their enemies." Jiraiya said, "And it was Naruto who summoned Gambunta and fought Gaara outside the village during the Chunin exams to save everyone here's life, and what did he get for it? His apartment was broken into and all his belongings set on fire, making a lot of the teens who did not know look on with anger at the older generation." The Fire Lord said, "As much as I would like to see your counsel and you argue Hokage-sama, I do have other business to attend to. Now Sura Hishi, please come forward and give me your report of the financial situation here in Konoha." The auditor Suru stepped forward and said, "After careful record checking, my department has determined that Danzo, Kaharu, and Homaru are using the village funds for their own uses, which has resulted in the village being in department for $9 billion, sir. To hide this fact from the Hokage and the council, they have been stealing funds from the orphan accounts as well as citizen and clan funds to cover up their uses." Danzo said, "This is absurd. I have done no such thing." Suru said, "According to the records I have here, you have personally withdrawn from the bank $7 billion in the past 5 years. Your financial records show that you have earned from outside sources that are unregistered $5 billion in the past 5 years, meaning you have $2 billion that you have no rightful claim over, and you do not have any financial records to indicate where $4 billion of the money went to. At this time I would have to say that you have been using them for illegal activities." Several people were shooting Danzo looks, and Jiraiya said, "Probably to pay for your own private Anbu unit called Root Danzo, which did not aid in protecting the village when we were attacked because they were too busy guarding your mansion, according to the report made after the invasion." Danzo said, "I have the right to defend my property, and those men are my private security force." Jiraiya said, "As the Rokudaime Hokage, I want a list of each of your private security force, Danzo, and see if any are ninja of this village. If they are, then you, Danzo, will be charged with treason for misappropriate use of village resources during the time of war." Danzo said, "None are." Jiraiya said, "Good. I want photo ID for each so I can give to every ninja of the village so they are not considered spies or traitors and killed." With a smirk. Danzo frowned as he said, "Yes, Hokage-sama." The Fire Lord said, I assume the other two are just as incriminating, Saru. Saru said. Indeed, sir. Shall I go into detail? The Fire Lord said. No, just give the report to the Rokudime Hokage. Now I want Sakura Haruno and Hitaki Kakashi to come forward. Kakashi and Sakura both walked forward and the Fire Lord said, Now Sakura, your team went on a mission to Wave Country, correct? Sakura said, Yes, Lord Sama. The Fire Lord said, According to the reports I have read from all three genin as well as the report Kakashi made and the letter I received from the client Tazuna recently about the mission. I am going to tell you what I believe happened and each fact I ask you will shake your head yes or no to see if the facts are correct. Do you understand? Sakura nods and the Fire Lord said, It originally was a C rank mission and the client's name was Tazuna, a bridge builder. Nods. You were attacked by Chunin level missing nins called the Demon Brothers. Kakashi pretended to die leaving the genin to defend the client. Nods. Sasuke Uchiha tries to take care of one ninja while your other teammate was wounded by the other. Nods. With a poisoned weapon. Nods. Kakashi arrives at the last moment to save the client from the two nins. Nods. Naruto bleeds the poison out and you discover that the client lied and that a business tycoon named Gato is after the bridge builder's life. Nods. You continue the mission and encounter Zabuza Momochi. Nods. Sasuke Uchiha nearly killed himself because of the KI. Sakura looked down and the Fire Lord said, I am waiting Sakura. Sakura nods and the Fire Lord said, Kakashi said he won't let his team die. Nod. He fights Zabuza and is captured in a water prison. Nods. Naruto comes up with a plan to save Kakashi by hanging himself into a demon windmill shuriken and has a cage Bunshin throw him to Sasuke who throws it at Zabuza and when Zabuza jumps to avoid it Naruto changes back and attacks Zabuza from behind freeing Kakashi. Nods. Zabuza and Kakashi fight until someone posing as a hunter nin kills Zabuza with senbons in the neck and Kakashi faints. Nods. Naruto carries Kakashi to the client's house where over the rest of the time there Kakashi is mostly bedridden and teaches your team the chakra exercise tree climbing. The first thing he actually taught your team. Sakura nods and Kakashi feels several people glaring at him. The Fire Lord said, Both your teammates train while you guard the client at the bridge and his family when they went to town. Nods. Zabuza is still alive and the hunter nin is his accomplice. Nods. Two mercenaries try to kill the client's family while everyone but Naruto is at the bridge because Kakashi did not want to waste time to wake him. Nods. Naruto saves the client's family and then comes to the bridge fights the fake hunter nin who had already beat the Uchiha while you guard the client and Kakashi fought Zabuza. Nods. Naruto beats the hunter nin but the hunter nin shushin in front of Kakashi to save Zabuza life from a Chidori. Nods. Gato shows up with 200 men to double-cross Zabuza and Naruto convinces Zabuza to avenge the hunter nin and he does so by killing Gato. Nods. Kakashi orders Naruto to bury both the hunter nin and Zabuza while he checks on the Uchiha who was knocked out and leaves Naruto on the bridge. Nods. By this time several ninja are glaring at Kakashi. The Fire Lord said. So that explains why Naruto is seen as a national hero in Wave Country because he did more on that mission than anyone else did by protecting his teammates, the client's family, as well as using Kajbunshin to build the bridge and help to repair the village. Now that explains why Wave hates you all. Let's take T Country. Your team was assigned to protect the runner for one of the two governing bodies there in a race, right? Sakura nods. Kakashi stays in the village while the rest of your team was sent to protect the runner. Nods. You encounter several missing nins which Naruto protected your team from while you all went ahead with the runner where you met Aoi Rokusho who attacked your team with the Raijin. Sasuke tried to fight Aoi but got defeated and Naruto showed up saved his life defeating Aoi and recovering the Raijin as well as protecting the runner while you stayed with the Uchiha who was injured throughout the rest of the race and even carrying him when his injuries stopped him that he received thanks to you and Sasuke being unable to protect him. Sakura looked down and nods. The Fire Lord sighed and said, Well, I can see how that would explain why he is a national hero there as well. Now the Spring Country formerly known as Snow Country. You were originally assigned to protect an actress that was later determined to be the actual princess of Snow Country. You were attacked by ninja again and Naruto saved the princess life on several occasions going so far as to make a ladder of Kajbunshin to climb onto an airship when the princess had been captured so he could rescue her. When the princess tried to kill her uncle to free her country, her uncle took he hostage again, fleeing to the Rainbow Glacier, and Naruto chased them, fighting her uncle, freeing the princess, as well as activating the generators that thawed the country from its eternal winter. Is that correct? Sakura said. Yes, but Sasuke and I both fought ninja as well as Kakashi. The Fire Lord said. I am aware of that. Kakashi wanted to finish off his petty revenge from an earlier mission failure to the ninja he killed. The Uchiha wanted to test himself, and you wanted to prove yourself to the Uchiha. None of you were worried about the princess who was the client you were assigned to protect except Naruto, correct? Sakura looked down and nods, and the Fire Lord looked at Kakashi and asked, is there anything you would like to add, Kakashi? Something I missed. Kakashi said. No. The Fire Lord said. Now Jiraiya. Since I understand YT, Spring, and Wave all are mad now, and from what the new Kage Gaara has said, the reason he is hostile toward Konoha is for banishing the only person he respected and was able to defeat him, as well as the person he wanted to marry his sister to form a new political alliance. Now from Tsunade report, the only reason she became the Godime Hokage was because of Naruto, correct? Jiraiya said. Yes, Orochimaru offered to bring back to life her brother and her fiancé if she would restore his arms from the damage Sensei did to them before he died. He gave her a week to consider. That same day Naruto and I had tracked her down, and I asked her to become the Godime, and she refused. She insulted the office and the Hokage, and Naruto lost his temper and called her a drunk old hag and a coward. She was drunk at the time and she challenged him to a fight. They went outside and she said she could beat him with one finger, and they fought, and the alcohol got to her, causing her to nearly miss the fact Naruto was trying to make a Rasengan to use on her. She realized it at the last second and had to break her word of only using one finger. She then called him a weak fool that never had a chance to finish learning the Rasengan, just like it was only fools who would become Hokage. Naruto told her he would finish learning it in 3 days. She gave him a week. At the end of the week she met with Orochimaru and turned him down because she didn't want to take either side. She had poisoned me to keep me out of the way and knocked out her assistant Shizune. Naruto came back from training on the Rasengan, and we all tracked her down where she was nearly being defeated by Orochimaru and his assistant Kabuto. I ordered Naruto not to get involved since the fight was over his head, and Shizune fought Kabuto and nearly died until Naruto saved her. He then fought Kabuto for a while until Kabuto experience gave him the upper hand. He went to kill Tsunade. I was busy fighting Orochimaru and Shizune was injured, so it was a surprise to us all when Naruto got in front of the strike after he had created a Kage Bunshin and took the strike through his hand. He then held onto Kabuto hand, making it where he could not escape, and with the help of the Kage Bunshin completed the actual Rasengan. A jutsu that took his father 3 years to create, took me a year to learn, and he learned the entire process in 1 month. He used the Rasengan and defeated Kabuto, but not before Kabuto damaged Naruto's heart. It was seeing him save her life several times that made Tsunade take a chance, and she saved his life, gave him her grandfather necklace, and decided to become the Godime Hokage. She even acknowledged his dream of becoming Hokage and named him her original successor instead of me, but the council ruined it, so she took what belonged to her. Took the reason she came to Konoha, as well as taking another apprentice, and left this village after declaring them free ninja with affiliation to no hidden village, taking the Hokage hat, her clan half of the village treasury, as well as other things that was awarded to her as not only a senju but also the Hokage. Because of the council, Konoha has lost the greatest medic ever, the slug contract, the toad contract, because they have informed me as long as I serve Konoha they refuse to do anything but visit me, so if Orochimaru decides to attack again with Manda, a lot of people are going to die before Manda is defeated, since we have no summons that can take him. The Fire Lord rubbed his head and said, that's it. I can't stand the sight of all these people. Even after hearing what all the boy has done in the name of this village, most of the older generation are still looking at him as a demon. As of this moment, I hereby withdraw all support of this village. I will send all my missions to other countries. My samurai and temple priest will not come aid your village if it is attacked or need help. I wipe my hands of this village. Your council has ruined the village, and the people here are nothing but a waste. Well, the adults at least. My suggestion to all you children is, if you think your families are wrong, is get out of this village while you can, because if you follow them it will lead to your death. Let's go. As he moved to leave. As people started to leave, Jiraiya said, this meeting is not over yet. Since the council has pointed out a law the Nadaim created for wartime, I will point out several others that were created, gaining everyone attention. Danzo said, "You are not the Hokage, Jiraiya. We did not elect you." Jiraiya said, "The council can only elect a Hokage if one was not selected before the Hokage retired or passed away, and Tsunade selected me, so you have no say." Danzo, "Interrupt me again and I will consider it treason and kill you myself. Yes, your little root agent may kill me in the process, but I will kill you as well. Now that I have everyone attention. Since we are at war, resources are going to become scarce. All perishable food will not be rationed to ensure that we always will have enough. All restaurants except for Ikiruka Ramen Stand will be closed. Ikiruka Ramen Stand will be allowed to operate it to feed the academy students and will be paid from the Hokage account. Eggs, milk, cheese, bread, alcohol, meat, fish, and other perishables will only be eligible to ninja of the village through ration stamps. No ration stamp, no perishable food." A civilian screamed, "You can't do that. We will starve to death." Jiraiya said, "You seem to forget, Konoha is a ninja village, not a civilian village. Civilians should never have been allowed on the council in the first place. If you don't like what I am saying, don't let the gate hit you on your way out, because you are just using resources that our fighting forces need, so you are considered expendable. If you're not a ninja, then you have two choices: become one or leave." Everyone was stunned hearing Jiraiya, and he said, "Now where was I? Oh yes, the second thing is because of several council members we are nearly broke, so we are going to have to start taxing luxuries. The hot springs are now $10 more an hour than it has been, and that money will go into the Hokage account that only the Hokage has access to, since the council can't be trusted. All hot water heaters in the village will be removed from homes and businesses and destroyed. The fuel cost to run them can be used in other areas." Kaharu said, "You can't do that. I need my hot baths." Jiraiya said, "Are you saying you're not tough enough to do your duty, Kaharu? If so, I got an ink pen you can sign your resignation letter with." Now where was I? Oh yes. All hot springs are now co-ed, since we don't have enough to be picky between men and women. If you want hot water in your home, you can pay for a D rank mission for some off our Genin and Chunin to use Kaden Jutsu to boil the water for you. There will be a curfew on all civilians. Any civilian caught outside after dark will be arrested and held by Anbu for a minimum of 1 week and will be questioned by Ibiki or Anko. All council decisions must be approved unanimously now. There is no longer a majority vote. The council does not have the authorization to order any Konoha ninja. If they do so, it will be considered treason and the entire council will be executed. All ninja missions must be approved and given out by me. No one else. Danzo, Kaharu, Homaru. I can't do anything about the funds you took because they fell under the term of another Hokage, but I am stating this. If I find you have taken any more funds or resources for your own personal use, I will kill you myself. I would disband the entire council if I had the power to, but you all were power hungry and created laws after the Yondaime and the Sandame's death, weakening the power of the Hokage. I will not let what you did during other Hokage terms work for me. If you do not show me proper respect, I will send you to Ibiki or kill you. Kakashi, if you are late for any meeting or mission, your Sharingan will be removed and destroyed. As for the rest of you, the village is officially under martial law until this war is over. I do not require the council permission to pass any law, and the council cannot pass any without them all approving and my approval. If you have a complaint, complain to the council. Come to me and you will be arrested. Now for my last ruling. All females ninja while on duty inside the village are required to be without bindings or bras. That is all. Dismissed. And thought, hehehehe. In Lightning Country, Tsunade thought, why do I feel like killing Jiraiya? In Konoha, after the town meeting and the Fire Lord left, the town was in a state of shock. Those of the older generation who hated Naruto thought that all this mess was his fault and it was his way of getting revenge on them. The people who were either neutral or favored him thought that Konoha's sins were finally coming back to get them. Most of the ninja of the village realized there was a power struggle in Konoha between the Hokage and the council that finally had come to head. Some thought about what would happen if they failed a mission: would they be banished? Some thought that Konoha was falling into a time of civil war. Others were just confused because of all they heard. The younger generation were looking at the older generation with questions. Those who actually knew Naruto like the Rookie Nine were shocked that their home had been treating someone they knew like they had been. Each began thoughts about it and remembering their past with Naruto looking for proof to deny or accept what they heard, and each were sickened by the fact they actually found the proof. In the Hokage office, Jiraiya was sitting in his office with his feet on his desk and thought, so now that all the cards are on the table, let's see where this goes. Sakura was at Ino's house looking at her former best friend with tears in her eyes, and she said, I can't believe this. Ino said, I know, Sakura. Did you hear the adults talking about him like he was some kind of creature instead of a person? Sakura nods and said, that's crazy. I've been his teammate all this time and he has done nothing but tried to help everyone, never hurt anyone unless there was no choice. Ino looked up at the ceiling and said, I almost want to leave this village if this is how they are. Sakura looked down and said, Ino, can I stay here with you for a while? Ino asked, why? Sakura bit her lip and said, my mom is one of those who hate him. I heard her saying it's about time they killed him, and Ino quickly pulled her into a hug and said, okay, you can stay here. Stopping whatever Sakura was going to say. Inoichi downstairs screamed, Ino, Sakura, get ready for combat. On Team 8 training ground, Sume Inuzuka, Hana Inuzuka, with their companions Kurenai, Kiba, and Shino were all there sitting, and Kiba asked, but mom, if you knew about this, why didn't you ever adopt him? Sume sighed and said, Kiba, there are things that you were not told. Most of the council has done everything they can to make his life hell. They made it where he could not be adopted by any of the clans. Well, that was actually mostly the Uchiha clan's fault, but that's a moot point. The Ino Shikacho families all were supportive of him, as was I and Shino family. In fact, the only ones who were not supportive of him were the Uchiha and the Hyuga, but the Hyuga were at least neutral toward him. Just then the triplets started to growl and Hana said, everyone, we got company. As she got up in a defensive stance. Across the village, Team 9 were on their training ground and Lee was punching a log saying, this is most unyouthful. Tenten said, I can't believe this. How is it that we all missed what was going on? I thought we were ninja, yet we missed the entire village treating the son of the Yondaime like that. Neji said, he has defied fate his entire life and they still treat him like a creature. I wonder. Jiraiya-sama said Tsunade-sama took a new apprentice with her. Hinata has not been here for 2 weeks. Is she Tsunade-sama apprentice? Tenten frowned and said, I wish it could be me. Lee stood back and took a stance before he charged forward and slammed his leg against the log, and it shattered into a million splinters, making both his teammate look at him in shock. Lee turned and said, Naruto. If it wasn't for Naruto, I would never be a ninja again, because he brought Tsunade back to heal me. If it wasn't for him, I would be dead right now. Gaara came to my hospital room while I was injured and he went to finish what he started in the exams. Naruto showed up with Shikamaru and saved me while I was passed out. Guy-sensei arrived later, but he told me it was those two who saved me. When you, Neji, and the others went to stop Sasuke, I came to help. I got there and Naruto was fighting a man who could use the bones in his body as a weapon and he was holding his own. I wanted to repay him and told Naruto to go get Sasuke while I took on the Bone Nin. I gave it everything I had to defeat him and I would have died then, except I was saved again by an unlikely source. Gaara saved me because he came to repay Naruto for saving him from the darkness the demon inside of him placed him in. In the end, it all comes down to my life is owed to Naruto, and this village has done everything they can to destroy him, and I can't follow this village anymore. As he reached up and pulled his hayate off and dropped it on the ground. Tenten looked at him in shock and asked, what are you doing, Lee? You can't give up your dream to prove yourself a ninja to everyone just like that. You trained too hard to throw it all away. Lee said, you not understanding, Tenten. I wanted to prove I was able to be a ninja, yes, but I also want to be a ninja I can be proud of. I can't follow a village that would throw away a hero just like that. What's stopping them from kicking me out next, or you or anyone else? You saw it today. The council and the Hokage are in a power struggle, and I don't think Jiraiya-sama is really trying to be the Hokage. I think he's buying time. Neji said, you're right, Lee. He must be giving Tsunade-sama and her team time to get ready for whatever they got planned. Tenten frowned and said, not you also, Neji. Neji said, likely I owe Naruto a debt, Tenten. I hurt my cousin who has never done me any wrong because of my blind hate for the main branch. I destroyed years of happiness that I can never replace, and now I have a chance to change that. I am going to ask Jiraiya-sama to send me on a long-term mission to track down Naruto and join him so I can be with Hinata. Tenten looked up at the sky and said, I don't know what to think or do anymore. I never would have thought Konoha would be like this. I am honestly expecting a civil war soon because I saw how the younger generation acted when they heard what the older generation did to him. As she looked down for a moment only for her eyes to go wide as she jumped away as a kunai hit the ground where she had been moments before. Neji activated his bloodline and looked around and said, there's 4 of them, all wearing Anbu mask with the kanji for Ne on them. They have us surrounded. Lee asked, what do you want? As he took a defensive stance. A voice said, you have been corrupted by the demon and must be illuminated to stop the corruption from spreading. As several more kunais and shurikens flew toward them and Neji began to spin and screamed, Kaden. As Chakra stopped the weapons and he grabbed the shurikens and threw them at one of the root members. The sound of them hitting a log did not stop Neji as he said, Lee, drop the weights while I cover you. Tenten, 4 o'clock. Tenten acting quickly pulled out her weapons scrolls and leapt into the air screaming, Twin Rising Dragon. As she began to launch all kinds of weapons in the area Neji told her to attack. Lee dropped his weights and was gone in a blur, soon finding one of the root ninja and slammed his fist into the mask of the nin, breaking the mask, and he did a roundhouse kick screaming, Leaf Whirlwind, as he kicked the man in the head, snapping his neck. Tenten, having used up both her scrolls, landed on the ground and the root member who had been hiding behind a tree charged at her and Tenten smirked as chakra strings formed and she yanked on them and her weapons flew into the back of the root member, killing him. Neji during this time had charged toward the one who had replaced himself earlier and was engaged in a taijutsu fight when Neji said, you are within my range of divination. 8 trigrams, 128 palms. 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palm, 16 palms, 32 palms, 64 palm, 128 palm strike. As the man slumped to the ground dead. Neji looked around and said, I don't see the other one. He must have gotten away. We must inform Jiraiya-sama immediately. Tenten said, right, who are these guy? Neji said, Root, that was the name Jiraiya-sama called Danzo bodyguards. Tenten frowned and said, this is crazy, are we the only team to be attacked? The sound of branches breaking drew their attention and all 3 got ready to fight when Guy showed up and he said, I was too late, they attacked here also. Lee asked, what has happened, Guy-sensei? Guy said, Danzo, he could not turn over the identities of his root without showing he had committed treason, so he had 6 teams attack Jiraiya-sama who with the help of Anbu were able to kill them all, but Danzo also sent his root members after anyone who would be sympathetic toward Naruto. So far Ikiruka ramen stand has been set on fire, but both the owner and his daughter were able to escape with just smoke in their lunges. Uruka at the academy was attacked in his classroom, but luckily Anko was visiting him and was able to help save him and the kids. Team 8 was attacked as well, but Hana in Izuka was there talking with her brother along with Sum and they killed 2 teams of root. I don't know who else was attacked as I came to find you all. We must report to the tower immediately. And Lee, where is your headband? Lee looked down and said, I can no longer wear it, Guy-sensei. I do not agree with the council and the village. I owe Naruto too much to throw everything he done for me away. Guy saw it on the ground and walked over and picked it up and said, Lee, I do not agree with the council and the village on this, but quitting is not the way to solve this. Naruto never quit and neither should you. Lee looked at Guy and said, hold it for me. If when this mess is over I feel different I will accept it back, but for now I can't. I will go with you to the tower to see what is going on, but then I will make a choice. Guy closed his eyes and nods and said, come then my team. As he jumped away. As the team followed they soon smelled smoke and saw the remains of fire from buildings and Tenten asked, is this a civil war, Guy-sensei? Guy said, no, we have reports that Danzo has already fled the village to somewhere safe and his root members are covering his escape, but the ones who are here that attacked you are all the weakest members of his group. Tenten frowned and asked, so what's going to happen? Guy said, I don't know. Jiraiya-sama ordered all of us to protect anyone who was attacked and bring them to the Hokage Tower. As they traveled by rooftop. When they got to the Hokage Tower, Team 9 was shocked to see so many people there, and Jiraiya was looking at the sight of the people with a frown on his face and thought, Danzo knew Naruto had this many friends and ally. He must have been planning this for a while. What the hell do they want? as he turned and looked at the two people walk into the room. Kaharu said, Jiraiya, you must stop this execution of Danzo Personal B, as Kaharu was slammed against the wall by Jiraiya who was releasing ki. Homaru said, stop this instant Jiraiya. Jiraiya said, you both come here to tell me to stop having my men stop Danzo men from murdering innocent villagers and you try to order me around. Both of you get out of my sight. Homaru said, you are out of line Jiraiya, we are the elder advisors and based on your actions tonight we are calling for a vote of no confidence in you with the company. As Homaru suddenly was catching Kaharu who was thrown by Jiraiya who screamed, Anbu. 4 Anbu appeared and he said, take both these two to Ibiki and tell him to have fun. The Anbu grabbed the elders and left in a swirl of leaves when suddenly a wounded team of Anbu appeared and Jiraiya looked and thought, what the hell? As he saw they had the same mask as the ones who just took the elders. Owl said, sir, we were attacked by some of Danzo men while some of them impersonated us. Jiraiya scowled and said, get patched up and return to your post. All 4 bow and left and Jiraiya thought, this is crazy, how far are they willing to go to hurt those who are close to Naruto? Just then a kunai flew through the window and as Jiraiya turned he recognized the sound of an exploding tag and he quickly jumped out of the office as the tag exploded. Jiraiya got up looking at his ruined office and Kakashi appeared and asked, what are your orders Jiraiya-sama? Jiraiya looked at Kakashi and said, I need to find out what is going on, search the village and report back to me, something's not right. Kakashi nods and quickly leaves in a swirl of leaves. Jiraiya thought, I don't like this. As he walked out and looked at the nearly 200 people who had been attacked in the last hour. As Kakashi went through the village quickly the sound of speakers coming on was heard and he stopped and looked around thinking, who was using the emergency broadcast system. Across the village most of the people were also looking around trying to figure out who was using it also when the voice of Danzo was heard and he said, people of Konoha. Today the Rokudaime Hokage Jiraiya accused me of using the village ninja as part of my own security detail. I officially denied those charges but it appears that he wants to make me appear guilty. He is using his own Anbu disguised as my security force and blaming me for the attacks on the people of the village. I have also received a report that he had the Sandame's teammates Homaru and Kaharu killed for not joined in his witch hunt for hurting his godson Naruto Uzumaki. Do we really want to follow a man who peeps on women and abandons his duty to those who he is supposed to watch? After all he did leave his godson alone for most of his life. In the Hokage Tower Jiraiya clenched his fist and thought, I will kill you Danzo. People were all looking around deep in thought shocked by hearing the elder advisors were killed. The Rookie 9 and their family were all shocked also but mostly in shock at hearing Danzo trying to manipulate the people. At least the adults who knew Danzo were. As their children voiced questions about the truth of that statement and the general statement to them was, Danzo is a warmonger who has always wanted to be the Hokage. He would kill anyone, enemy or ally to get it. That made most of them think about what the statement Danzo had made would be like from another point of view and each of them realized that he was destroying Konoha for his own greed. Hiba asked, Mom, if this guy is so dangerous to attack our own people why hasn't he been assassinated before now? Jiraiya who had joined the group said, because he was too valuable for the safety of Konoha to get rid of before now as well as the blackmail he had on the Sandame. Ino asked, what do you mean Hokage-sama? Jiraiya sighed and said, you have to understand during the Great Ninja War we were outclassed in a lot of battles. There are those like Hanzo who took all 3 of the Sanins on and won. Back then Konoha did not have any spy master to help with counterintelligence so Danzo was given the okay to create Root. He was given the sole purpose of weakening the enemies of Konoha through espionage. Over the years he did exactly that. It was him who first discovered Orochimaru using civilians as experiments. He informed the Sandame Hokage who took a team and caught Orochimaru in the act however the Sandame could not bring himself to kill his one-time favorite student and let him escape. That was the final straw for Danzo so he saw the Sandame as an enemy to Konoha who was destroying Konoha from the inside. He started to work to discredit him and he found something that the Sandame hidden from everyone that he forced Sensei to retire with. Hiashi asked, what is it that he found that would force the Sandame to retire Jiraiya? I was under the impression he retired because he wanted Konoha to have a strong leader in the Yondaime Zero, not an old man. Jiraiya sighed and sat down and said, There was something that happened back during the time of the Nadaime Hokage. Something that not even Tsunade knew about. In fact, I think besides myself that Danzo is the only one who knows the truth. Asuma asked. What truth, Jiraiya-sama? Jiraiya looked at Asuma and said, Minato real name should not be Namikaze. Minato real name should be Minato Senju Sarutobi, your half-brother Asuma. Asuma eyes were wide along with several others and Sakura asked, so does that mean Naruto is actually Tsunade grandson? Jiraiya shook his head and said, no. Tsunade would be too young to be Minato mother. The truth is the Nadaime was unable to have children and Nawaki, Tsunade brother was dead, so to save the Senju family he talked the Shadaime's son's wife, Tsunade mother into having another child, hopefully a male, and she agreed, and the Nadaime made an agreement with Sensei to help have the child, and he would chose him over Danzo as the Hokage. He agreed, and once Minato was conceived he named Sensei his successor. 2 weeks later the Nadaime died in battle and Sensei took over. The Shadaime wife died giving birth to Minato, and Sensei, who was married to your mother at the time, could not claim him without Danzo using it to take the title of Hokage away from him and dishonored both the Senju clan and the Sarutobi clan. Anyways, Sensei did everything he could to make sure Minato was taken care of, and he entrusted me with the secret when he asked me to train his son. Danzo didn't learn about it until Sensei and I had a fight about a mission I did with Minato and he overheard it. Ino said. So wait a minute. You're saying Naruto is actually related to 5 of the 6 Hokage? Jiraiya said. And that is why Danzo is trying so hard to destroy Naruto. Think about it. Naruto is practically the closest thing Konoha has to royalty. That is why Danzo wanted Naruto in his root program so bad, why he has worked so hard to discredit Naruto among the people of the village, and why he wanted him out of the village before he was able to gain his birthright. The truth was going to come out when Naruto made Chunin, and if it had not been for the invasion would most likely have happened during the last Chunin exams. It is why Team 7 was given such political missions that usually would be given to Anbu. Asuma, who had dropped his cigarettes, and said, so you're saying Naruto is actually my nephew just as Konohamaru is, and he was setting Naruto up for what exactly? Something's not adding up here. Konohamaru, who was nearby, was wide-eyed and thought, boss is my cousin. Jiraiya sighed and said, I don't know, Asuma. I just don't know what he planned, but it's not important anymore. Naruto been banished and Danzo is trying to drive a rift between all those who care for him and those who don't. Sakura asked, wait, if he was your godson and the grandson of the Sandaime, then why wasn't he with his family or you? Why was he alone then? Jiraiya looked at her and said, I wanted to take him out of the village with me, but Sensei said he would be safer here under the watchful eye of his family. He originally planned for Naruto to be adopted by Kase, his older son and wife. The Uchiha clan created a ruckus when several of the clans of Konoha wanted to adopt him and said that they would create a civil war if he was adopted by any clan, because they didn't want one clan more powerful than they were and refused to accept the law the Sandaime wanted to pass to keep Naruto and the Kyuubi secret from everyone who didn't know, so as a compromise they would accept the law and enforce it. In return, no clan was able to adopt him. Then after the Uchiha massacre, Konohamaru parents died on a mission and Asuma was at the fire temple and he was too busy as the Hokage, so he could not repel the law about no clan getting him without losing his grandson to another clan, so he left him where he was, and by that time I had already been tracking down Akatsuki. Shikamaru asked, who is Akatsuki? Jiraiya frowned, realizing his slip of the tongue, and said, Akatsuki is a group of S-rank missing nins that are after the Biju. For what purpose we do not know, but they plan to extract them from each of the Jinchuriki, resulting in their deaths, meaning Naruto as well. In fact, there has already been one attempt on his life by them when we went to get Tsunade to become the Hokage. Uchiha Itachi and Kisame Hoshigaki attacked and tried to capture him. As he looked up at the sky, several of the adults' eyes got wide hearing this and were about to say something when a puff of smoke appeared in front of Jiraiya and an orange toad appeared in front of him and said, Yo. Jiraiya asked, what are you doing here, Gamakichi? Gamakichi looked around and said, Bro sent me with a scroll for you, something from the. What's going on here? Several people snickered at Tsunade nickname and Jiraiya said, give me the scroll, Gamakichi. The toad handed the scroll to Jiraiya, who opened it and began to read, and his eyes got wide and thought, damn kid, I didn't see that one coming. So you got the fox who is a female to work for you, giving you a bloodline adaptation, and the Raikage is on his way to see you along with the Jinchuriki of the Nibi. Tsunade wants me to come to talk about Akatsuki with them to see if we can get an ally against them. As he thought for a moment. Ino asked, "What does it say, Jiraiya-sama, and how is Naruto doing?" Jiraiya blinked and looked at everyone and then back at the scroll a moment and then back at the group and said, Kakashi, you here? As he began to look around. Kakashi said, "I'm here, Jiraiya-sama." As he walked through the crowd, though a few made it harder for him. When Jiraiya saw him, he said, "Well, congratulations, Kakashi, you're getting a mini promotion." Because of the threat of Akatsuki as well as a few new developments that have come to light, I have to take a diplomatic mission, and everyone here is coming with me for their protection as well as to ensure that everyone is informed of the new developments. You are officially named my successor as Hokage should something happen to me, and you are acting Hokage until my return. Do you understand? Several people narrowed their eyes while others were shocked to hear this, considering what was heard about Kakashi earlier in the day. Hiba, who was pissed because of what he heard Kakashi did, said, "But why him and not someone else?" Jiraiya said, "Simple, as much as it pains me to say it, nobody else but Kakashi currently has all the requirements to be Hokage, but it is only temporary anyways." Hiashi asked with narrowed eyes, "And why do you need all of us to come with you, Jiraiya-sama? I understand your idea of protecting everyone, but couldn't you just put security on all those who would need it?" Jiraiya said, "I could, but that would be wasting resources Konoha needs to survive, but the real reason is in this scroll here. Since you are a council member, Hiashi, and a clan head, I will allow you and the others council clan heads to read it also, so you can see what is so important that I need all you to come." As he held the scroll to Hiashi, who took it and began to read, and his eyes got wide. Seeing the shocked look on Hiashi's face raised questions with several people, as he was usually the stoic stick-up-his type of person. Shikaku asked, "What is it that has shocked you so much, Hiashi?" Hiashi looked up after rereading the scroll and he swallowed hard and said, Apparently Naruto has, for a better word of it, tamed the Kyuubi and has her doing his bidding now." Jiraiya, who was weeping tears, said, "I have never been so proud of any student before in my life. He has achieved every man's dream now and can legally be with as many women as he wants." Several people's eyes got wide and several screams of, "What?" was heard, and Kakashi asked, "What do you mean, Jiraiya-sama?" Jiraiya smiled a big perverted grin and said, "The boy has himself a harem now, including Hiashi daughter, some ice chick he met in wave, and he sniffles a few times trying to get himself calmed down and said, I can't say it, you will just have to see for yourself. I never knew the boy had it in him to be so much of a man's man that he had Kyuubi begging him to be her alpha." All three Inuzuka eyes got wide as they understood what he was referring to, and Hana said, "Wait a minute, you mean the Kyuubi has decided Naruto, the loudmouth, orange-wearing Naruto, is an alpha and chosen him as her mate?" Jiraiya said, "And got the fox to give him the most powerful bloodline in the world as a gift to choose her. The boy is a genius." Everyone was stunned as they tried to get the picture of Naruto with three women and one of them being a demon into their heads, as well as his new bloodline, and Asuma put out his sig and said, "When do you plan to leave, Jiraiya-sama, because the Sarutobi clan wishes to remove itself from Konoha for banishing one of its members, breaking everyone out of their thoughts and making several wide-eyed." Jiraiya stopped praising Naruto and said, "I figured you would say that, Asuma, so that is why I have decided as my next law I pass before I leave to meet the Raikage, the feudal lord of Lightning Country, as well as a few other select guests, that I am allowing any and all shinobi and clans to be freed of their bonds to Konoha to preserve their clan and family during this time of civil unrest, and may rejoin if they so chose after everything has calmed down without the threat of reprisal or hunter nins coming after them. I can't order you all to come with me to this meeting, but I ask that if you doubt your safety currently in the village to follow me for now, and you may decide to leave at any time to return or stay where we are going. I plan to leave at dawn tomorrow. If you do decide to come with me, meet me at the grounds of the Chunin Exam Stadium tomorrow at 7 a.m. and bring everything you have to have, because it may not be here when you return. If you return, I am sorry for doing this, but the ones who attacked you already were the weakest members of Danzo Men, and with his announcement earlier, I can't guarantee your safety if you remain here. Do not worry about a long travel, because I will use the Toad Shushin to transport all of you to where Naruto is at. Gamakichi, can you explain to you Dad and Naruto what all you have heard and seen here, because I fear for all Naruto precious people's safety?" Gamakichi nods and said, "Sure, and I will inform the proper toads to be ready for your summon in the morning, Arrow Sanin." as he went up in smoke and Jiraiya face faulted while several people snickered. Jiraiya stood up again and said, I will have a squad of Anbu watch each of your homes tonight to make sure you are not harmed, but I can't do it again after tomorrow morning. I am sorry for pushing this issue on each of you, and please don't hate Naruto for it because he is just as much a victim in all this as all of you are. Kakashi, come with me so I can show you what to do while I am away. As he walked back into the Hokage tower but to a different office since the Hokage office was destroyed. When they got to the room, Jiraiya closed the door and sealed the room and said, so do you realize what is really going on, Kakashi? Kakashi sighed as he said, you're not coming back, are you, Jiraiya-sama? Jiraiya said, no, if I remain in power, Danzo's little stunt earlier will result in a civil war which would result in a lot of innocent people being hurt or killed. The only way to avoid it is by doing what I am doing right now, by going on an official mission to meet with the Raikage and Naruto uncle as well as to check. You keep things running here as best as you can and see what you can do to put the people at ease and buy us a little time to figure out what is really going on. If my guess is right and as many people come with me as I hope tomorrow or leave thanks to my little law I stated earlier, then it should hurt the council and Danzo enough, as well as freeing up those who are loyal to the village, where you should be able to get the village at least operating again, though the village is broke, so you will have to use the D rank mission pays to get the higher level nin operating. Ironic that this whole mess is all started because you decided to play favorites Kakashi and teaching that boy your own signature assassination jutsu. Kakashi looked down at this and thought, it really is all my fault, as Jiraiya released him while he finished the paperwork for his flight to leave the village. When Naruto awoke, he was in deep thought after Gamakichi returned and informed everyone what had happened in Konoha. His uncle had immediately agreed to help Naruto and had places set up for people to stay by setting up his own personal royal tents that were big enough and set up where he and his entire court could stay in the tent in private rooms, and he had several of those tents as they were set up outside of the castle walls but on the back side of the castle, where to get to them you had to go through the castle since there was a cliff on the back side facing a sea. A groan from beside him made him look over and notice Haku waking up, and he smiled and asked, Morning Haim. How are you? Haku smiled and said, Great now, Naru-kun. I've needed that for a while. Naruto said, So did I. What should we do? I mean, I have been putting it off, but what do we do about Hinata? Haku frowned a moment and said, You already know what needs to be done, Naruto-kun. She is extremely loyal to you and is willing to die for you. She has done everything she could since we got here to have you and me approve of her. Even Kyuubi agrees with her. Naruto nods and said, If you are sure, then go get her. I will take a quick shower. Haku nods and she disappeared in a shushin, but Naruto heard the water in the shower come on and he saw the door to the bathroom slam shut and lock, and he screamed, Don't use all the hot water, as he got up and got him some cloths. After Haku got dressed and let Naruto take a shower, she went to where Hinata's room was, and when she got there she knocked, and a few moments later Hinata opened the door and said, Yes, Haku. Haku asked, Are you sure that you wish to be with him and me? Even knowing the entire truth. Hinata said, Yes. Haku closed her eyes and said, What would your purpose be to him? What do you have to offer him? Hinata fidgeted a moment and started to put her hands together, but stopped and forced them to her side and said, I will be by his side to support him when he needs support and help guide him when he is lost and protect him when he needs protecting. With a little stutter at the end. Haku nods and looks Hinata in the eyes and said, If you ever hurt him, I will kill you. He is so precious to me that I would die for him. His heart is so big that I am not sure I can completely fill it with all the love he needs, so I accept you as a mate. I have already informed him, and if you are sure about it, then go to his room as he is waiting for you. If you have any doubts, stop now because there is no going back. As she turned and walked away to go toward the courtyard. Hinata was stunned and she bit her lips and watched Haku leave, and she slipped on her shoes and left her room. A few minutes later Hinata was standing outside of the door to Naruto's room and she raised her hand and knocked quietly. A few moments later the door opened and Naruto was standing there and he said, Hello Hinata-chan. How are you today? With a small smile on his face. Haku started to raise her fingers together but pushed them down again and said, Fine Naruto-kun. Haku said, You were waiting for me. Naruto bit his lip a moment and asked, Did she say anything else? Hinata nods and closed her eyes a moment and took a breath and said, She told me that she approves of me. Naruto said, Are you sure about this, Hinata? I mean, I am not really sure about relationships or how to act or not act, and I often speak without thinking and might hurt you on accident someday. Are you sure that you wish to be with me? Hinata said. More than anything. As she locked eyes with him. Naruto closed his eyes and nods and stepped aside and said, please come on in then. Hinata bit her lip and walked in slowly, and Naruto closed the door and asked, are you sure you want this, Hinata? I mean, if you agree, there is no backing out. Hinata said. I am sure, Naruto-kun. Kindly. Naruto nods as he walked over and put his arms around her from behind and begins to kiss her neck, and Hinata eeped a moment before she calmed herself down. Naruto smiled and said, are you ready to become a kitsune, Hinata? Hinata nods her head, unable to speak, afraid she would pass out. Naruto saw this and he leans down and bites her on the neck, and Hinata moans as she feels both pleasure and pain shooting through her body, and she closes her eyes and feels herself getting hotter and hotter as she reaches for her coat to remove it to try and cool down, as Naruto removes his lips from her neck and walks around and kisses her before he picks her up bridal style and carries her to bed. Tsunade walked out into the courtyard with Shizune, and both saw Haku sitting looking at the fountain, and Tsunade saw she was distracted and looked around and asked, is everything okay, Haku? Haku jumped a little startled to hear Tsunade's voice and said, oh, everything fine, Tsunade-sama. Why do you ask? Tsunade said, well, you seem distracted for some reason, and both Naruto and Hinata are not here. Just then a moan was heard and then a louder one, and Haku asked, do you think you could teach Naruto-kun a privacy jutsu, Tsunade-sama? As she closed her eyes. Tsunade's eyes widened and said, I see. Are you okay with this? Haku bit her lip and said, I was the one who told her to go. I'm not used to the idea of other women with him, but it has to happen this way. He always wanted a big family, that is why he is willing to make people who are just friends family. There is no way that I would be able to fill the hole he has in his heart alone, so I will accept it. As long as he treats me the same as he always has, then I will be fine. Shizune was about to say something when a shout of, oh Naruto uu, was heard, and all three ladies looked toward the balcony where Naruto's room was, and Haku said, damn girl has a set of lunges. Good thing I tired his out last night, or she would be screaming for hours. Shizune blinked and said, wait, you and him last night? Haku said, yes. After we heard about his friends in Konoha, he was depressed, so I went with him to talk in his room, and one thing led to another, and after 6 hours I was content. Tsunade looked at Haku and said, only content? Haku blushed and after a few moments said, alright, I'm using my bloodline to take the ache away right now. Naruto-kun becomes possessed when he has. He goes from gentle loving to marking his territory with pleasure and pain to jackhammer to you till you can't walk. He doesn't stop until you pass out from pleasure. Once he builds up speed, it's impossible to stop him, and you really don't want to stop him either. I know when I was on all four I was giving as good as I got. Tsunade looked at Haku and then at Shizune and burst out laughing as she saw Shizune passed out, and Haku asked, why did she pass out? Tsunade said, Shizune's a virgin. She tries not to think about. Believe it or not, but she used to be just like Hinata right down to the fainting. Only years of being around me and occasionally Jiraiya have calmed her some, but she's still not comfortable talking about it. Haku said, I see. She's not going to try and be with Naruto-kun, is she? Tsunade laughed and said, no. Don't worry about Shizune. She sees him as a little brother. No, she has someone she likes and has liked for years, but she's too shy to tell him. Just then Ichigo walked out of the courtyard and said, girls got some lunges, making both Haku and Tsunade laugh. Ichigo asked, so have you thought about what you're going to do? Tsunade said, I will decide soon, but I need to see what the Gaki got planned and what we have to work with. Ichigo nods and Naruto walked out dressed and his hair wet and said, sorry I am late. I had to take a shower. Haku said, you mean a second shower, right? I know you had one after I left this morning. Ichigo blinked and said, so you're already trying to restore our family, Naruto, with the help of two ladies. Naruto turned red and said, whatever, as his eyes glossed over. Tsunade blinked and narrowed her eyes as Haku growled a moment, and Naruto blinked and said, the rakeage is here. Tsunade asked, what makes you say that, Gaki? Naruto groaned as he turned away from her and said, Nibby in heat. Or her Jinchuriki as I should say. Tsunade saw Haku's eyes had become slitted and said, I see. Haku also detects it and she's getting defensive about it and you're reacting to it. Naruto held his head down and Tsunade said, don't worry Gaki, it's only because of what you were just doing. Once you have time to calm down and the pheromones that you are releasing right now die down both Haku and you will be fine. The Inuzuka have the same problem sometimes. Hinata came walking out with a slight limp and she asked, is everything alright? Shizune who had awoke when Naruto came out said, yes, why? Hinata fidgeted and said, I feel tense for some reason like I want to fight. Tsunade explained to Hinata what happened and Ichigo said, well now that we go this taken care of perhaps we should go see our guest. I can assume that they are waiting in the main audience chambers. As he began to lead the way out of the courtyard. When the group walked into the chambers they saw the Raikage and a woman in her late teens early 20s standing there and the Raikage saw the group enter and bowed and said, ah, it's good to see you again your lordship. Naruto said, cut the shit and tell us what you want and could you please tell Nibi it's not going to work. As he blasted a shot of ki at Yugito. The Raikage blinked and saw Yugito flinch and asked, is something the matter? Naruto looked at him and said, trying to get my attention by making her Jinchuriki body act like it's in heat. Until I walked into the room here I thought it was a natural heat but it's not. The Raikage saw Yugito eyes glossed over and she was getting red-faced and said, I see. I am the Raikage of Kumo and you are. Ichigo during this time had taken his seat and was smiling at the show and said, that would be my nephew Naruto but I am sure you already knew that. The Raikage said, I knew you had a nephew from what I was told but I did not know what he looked like. And thought, the kid reminds me of his uncle, brash, rude, and doesn't take shit. Ichigo said, so what is it you wanted to see us about to come all the way here? The Raikage said, ah yes. Because of your recent listings in the bingo book I decided to investigate to what would draw your attention out of country and after I received that info I wished to come and meet the amazing person I have heard about. The hero of Wave. The Knight of Spring, the Strength of Tea, the Hope of Suna and a few other names I have heard of. Before anyone could say anything a small orange toad appeared in front of Naruto and said, yo. Naruto asked, what's up Gamakichi? Gamakichi said, they're ready and want to know where to have them appear. Naruto looked at his uncle who nods and Naruto said, follow me, as he walked out of the room. The Raikage asked, is there something wrong? Ichigo said, something like that. Why don't you come with us and see for yourself? As he got up and began to walk out the room. The Raikage started to follow at a slower pace and Yugito stepped beside him and he said, good job. Tell Nibi thanks. Yugito said, he doesn't appear to be much. The Raikage said, which is why I asked that you and Nibi try to get him ticked off enough to have a fight. I wish to see if he can control Kyuubi chakra as well as you or my brother. Yugito said, I understand and I will get him to fight me. As they stepped out on the courtyard as Naruto was standing in the clearing and he set the toad down and bit his thumb and began to flash through hand signs and said, Kuchio's no jutsu. As his hand hit the ground a small toad appeared and the toad began to get bigger and bigger and bigger until it was over 2 stories tall and it opened its mouth. When it did the first thing anyone saw was Jiraiya walked out and then he saw Tsunade and said, so this is your vacation home Heim. Not bad. As he looked over his shoulder and saw Naruto a moment and nodded slowly and said, alright come on out. Ride's over. Naruto was standing beside the tall toad when he saw Yame and her dad and then saw Iruka and then the rookie 9 minus Sasuke and Hinata. Their clans with the exception of the Hyuga. Correction, Neji and a little girl was there. Hinata when she saw those two said, Neji, Hanabi, is that really you? Without a stutter. Several people heard this and looked shocked seeing Hinata with confidence and Neji said, yes Hinata-sama. Hiyashi-sama sends his regards and would have come himself but because of the law Jiraiya-sama passed he has taken the rest of the clan and have left Konoha to wait until things settle down there to see what to do. He sent myself and your sister here to Kumo to be safe. Saying Kumo with disgust. As more and more people came out Naruto saw Asuma and Konohamaru walk out and look around for a moment and when they turned and saw him Konohamaru started to say something when Asuma put his hand over his mouth and whispered in his ear. Konohamaru nods and Asuma walked over and said, Naruto. Is there any place you and I can talk privately? Some new information has come up that you need to know. It appears that you have some other living relatives alive. Naruto's eyes went wide and asked, "Are you kidding me, Smokestack?" Asuma chuckled and said, "No, Naruto. It appears that Dad kept this info secret from everyone, including your family. Can we talk?" Naruto nods and said, "Sure," as he placed his hands on Asuma's shoulder and left in a swirl of leaves, shocking several people as they looked at Tsunade. Tsunade narrowed her eyes and Jiraiya walked over and she asked, "What was that about, Jiraiya?" Jiraiya gulped and said, Tsunade. There is something Sensei kept secret from almost everyone, and until yesterday only myself and Danzo knew besides Sensei." Ichigo asked, "What does this have to do with my nephew?" The Raikage, who was a short distance away, heard Yugito as she repeated quietly everything she was hearing. Jiraiya gulped and said, "Minato Namikaze, Naruto's father, was the son of Hiruzen Sarutobi and Tuka Senju," making both Ichigo and Tsunade wide-eyed. Tsunade growled and said, "This had better be a joke, Jiraiya," in a dangerous tone. Jiraiya said, "It's not. The Nadaime arranged it. After Nawaki's death, the Nadaime wanted another male Senju to carry on your clan's name, but he himself was unable to have children, so he contacted Sensei and said he would support Sensei as the next Hokage if he would agree to father a child with your mother. After the Nadaime died and your mother passed away in childbirth, he could not legally claim Minato without destroying the Senju and the Sarutobi clan as well as the village." Tsunade said, "So Naruto is my nephew?" Jiraiya nods and Tsunade said, "And you knew this?" Jiraiya gulped and nods and Tsunade slammed her fist into his face, sending him over the castle walls. The Raikage eyes were wide, first with the info he just received and then from the punch, and thought, "Note to self, don't piss her off." Just then a feeling of dread came across the entire castle and Naruto appeared in a swirl of flames completely covered in red chakra, and he said, "Where is Jiraiya?" as two tails of chakra was floating behind him. A few moments earlier Naruto appeared in his room with Asuma and he sat down and asked, "So who are they?" Asuma took a deep breath and said, "I want you to know, Naruto, that I only found out yesterday, okay?" Naruto nods, looking confused, and Asuma said, "Well, I was told that your father the Yondaime, and yes, I knew that, and it was one of the reason I left Konoha to join the Fire Temple Guards, because I did not agree with keeping the secret of your parents from you with everything you had to deal with, but that is now what I was going to say. It turns out that Minato's mother was named Tuka Senju, who was Tsunade's mother, and his father was none other Dad." Naruto's eyes widened and he said, "So, that means that you're my..." Asuma said, "That means I am your uncle, Tsunade is your aunt, and Konohamaru is your cousin. If I had known, Naruto, I would have kidnapped you myself and hidden you away from Konoha." Naruto's eyes were looking down and he asked, "Do you?" Asuma got up and hugged Naruto, who broke down crying, and after a few minutes and he had time to calm down, he asked, How did you find out?" Asuma said, "Well, the Nadaime was the one who arranged for your dad to be born. He could not have kids, so he never married, and Tsunade's brother had done passed away at this point, and Tsunade was out of the village most of the time, so he offered the job of Hokage to Dad if he would father a child with Tsunade's mom. He agreed, but the Nadaime was killed a few weeks later and Tsunade's mom passed away, giving birth to your dad, and Dad couldn't have adopted him without making the Senju and Sarutobi clans look bad. Besides Dad, the only two people who knew the truth after that was Danzo, who used the info to make himself more powerful in the village, and Jiraiya, who told all of us yesterday." Naruto bit his lip, looking down, and said, "So Arosani knew all the time not only who Dad was but who the rest of my family was, and that I had family that wanted me, and he told who knows how many people about it yesterday, but he could not tell me," as he began to shake in rage. Asuma saw this and felt the Kyuubi chakra starting to come over Naruto and said, "Calm down, Naruto." Naruto calmed down, as he saw a tail form behind Naruto. When Naruto looked up, his eyes were red and said, "Calm down. Calm down. How the hell can I calm down right now?" As he shushined away, but because of the Kyuubi chakra it turned into a swirl of flames. End flashback. The Raikage his shoulder and Yugito asked, "Why do you want to know, kid?" Making everyone look at her and the Raikage, and several people glared at them. Naruto said, "My godfather and I need to have a long chat." "Now where is he?" As his eyes darted around. Yugito said, "You want to know where he is? Calm down then before I make you." Naruto growled and said, "Listen here, kitty, I am calm right now, and unless you want me to spay you, beat the out of you and tie you in a sack and throw you in the sea out back so you can have a good bath to get rid of that tuna smell, then you better mind your own business. My godfather and I are going to talk and he is going to tell me exactly why he can tell an entire village about my relatives but he can't tell me and leaves me to suffer while he pays $2 for a hooker. Now unless you're one of his cheap hookers, and in that case I say find another John, back off. Everyone was stunned by what Naruto said and Yugito began to shake in rage and a swirl of flames appeared beside Naruto and Kyuubi in her human form with ears and tails wrapped her arms around Naruto and said, "Calm down, Kit." Naruto said, "Kyuubi, stay out of this. That man is going to answer my questions either by choice or by force. At this point I don't care which. I don't want to fight anyone but I am sick and tired of being lied to, shit upon and beat down. Everyone who means anything to me is hurt because of it and I want for once to answer why." Kyuubi sighed and stepped back and said, "Fine. Just don't do something you will regret." Tsunade sent him over the walls just after she told him via her right hook and rakeage. No one else might have noticed but I sure the hell did. I know you got the kitty here trying to pick a fight with the boy here to see how much control he has over my chakra, so test away but don't come crying to me when he beats her. As she walked over and sat down beside Haku. Yugito during this time was gritting her teeth and thought, this boy is dead, he is so dead. Naruto turned and jumped into the air to jump over the wall that Kyuubi pointed to when Yugito jumped into the air, kicking him in the back and sending him toward the ground below. Naruto flipped and landed on his feet sliding backwards and he growled and asked, "What the your problem?" Yugito said, Problem. Do I look like I have a problem?" As purple chakra explodes off her body as two tails form around her. Naruto smirked and stood up and said, "Besides the fact your PM sing, smell like tuna, and haven't been fed today, then no you don't have a problem. I can't help you with the first two but I can help you with the last one. Let me get some food. Come on kitty. Chow, chow, chow. Here kitty, kitty," as he dodged to the left as Yugito tried to claw him. She then disappeared as Junin level speed, and to the shock of everyone but those who have been traveling with him, Naruto was as well as they began to trade blows and claw slashes that would open wounds and heal quickly. As they attacked each other, a gold shield appeared around them forming a cube and everyone saw 4 kunai in the ground and Jiraiya standing not too far away with his arms crossed looking inside the cube. Inside the cube, after both fighters noticed the shield, Naruto said, "Looks like we can go all out, kitten." Yugito said, "I don't care anymore. I am going to kill you." As she began to go through hand signs and said, "Raiden. Lion charge." As a lion made out of lighting formed and charged at Naruto. Naruto disappeared from view and appeared behind Yugito with his sword at her neck and said, "Yield." Yugito smirked and said, "You think I am going to yield to you?" Naruto was forced to jump back as Yugito's body exploded into lightning and he saw Yugito forming a sword out of lightning, and Naruto held his hand out to the side as he began to form a Rasengan with Kyuubi chakra mixed in. Yugito charged and Naruto charged and both attacks met with shouts of lightning sword, Rasengan. As the two attacks hit, a ball of white chakra formed and Jiraiya was wide-eyed as he saw cracks begin to form in the shield, and as the ball exploded destroying the shield, Naruto and Yugito, whose cloths have been pretty much destroyed, were slashing, clawing, biting, hair pulling, punching, kicking like two wild animals. As they both began to get covered in blood, there got even more crazy and Kyuubi appeared in the middle of both, grabbing both by the neck, lifting them in the air and slammed them both face first into the ground. As both hit the ground, Naruto chakra cloak disappeared and moments later so did Yugito. Kyuubi let them go and Naruto looked at Jiraiya and asked, "Why?" Jiraiya frowned and said, "Because sensei asked me to." Naruto bit his lip and said, "And how many times have women asked you to not peek on them? How many times has Tsunade asked you not to look at her chest? How many times were you asked to be Hokage that you turned down? If you don't listen to any of those people, then why listen to him? Why make me suffer? Is it that I remind you so much of dad that you can't stand the sight of me? Or is it that you actually see me as Kyuubi? Well, there she is. Do I look like her? Well, here. Maybe this will help you." As he showed what he really looked like, earning several gasps. Naruto saw Jiraiya look away and Naruto said, "Well, you then. No wonder Tsunade chose Orochimaru over you as genin. At least with him she knew how she would be over." As he got up and walked back into the castle, leaving a very shocked group of people. Once he was gone, Tsunade looked at Jiraiya and said, "He's right, Jiraiya. You never listened to anyone else, including Sensei, all these years when you didn't want to, so why is it that never told him or me?" Jiraiya said, "Because he was his grandfather." Tsunade said, "And you're his grandmother and I am his aunt. Asuma is his uncle, so why not tell any of us? You and I both read the reports about what happened to him as a child and what Konoha did to him. All the assassination attempts, the beatings, the abuse, the way people tried to weaken him by making him an outcast for something he never even had a choice on, so why? Is he right? Do you really just see him as the Kyuubi, or is it that he reminds you of Minato, or is it that since he doesn't have a that you don't want to go near him? He told me how he got you to train him in the first place by turning himself into a woman. If he hadn't have done that, would you still have trained him or abandoned him like Kakashi did?" Jiraiya looked at her and said, "He was safer in Konoha than he would have been with either you or me. I had my duty to the village that you abandoned. I may have not been there, but at least I was making it where his only enemies were from inside instead of outside. You were too busy gambling and being a drunk to care for yourself, much less him." He came off Tsunade and said, "You, me, outside the walls now." Jiraiya pulled out a scroll and threw it to Shizune and said, "That's everything I have on Akatsuki and their plans to capture the Biju and the Jinchuriki. Until both blondes can calm down, I got research to do." As he shushined away, Tsunade screamed in rage and wanted something to destroy until she saw Naruto out of the corner of her eye sitting on a balcony, and her anger went away and asked, "Are you okay?" making everyone who was shocked by what they had seen and heard look where Tsunade was looking. Naruto looked at her and said, "I'm used to it," as he walked inside and closed the door. Tsunade closed her eyes and Kiba asked, "What is going to happen now?" As Tsunade wiped a tear off her face and looked at everyone who was there, and she said, "I want to say sorry for what you all saw earlier. It's just that to find out the truth about having family alive was unexpected." Tsume said, "We understand that all, Tsunade, and none of us judge you or the kid though. What is with his look and why does his scent come from both Hiyashi daughter and that girl right there, and are you really the Kyuubi?" Making several people wide-eyed and look at both girls who were blushing. Kyuubi chuckled and said, "Well, the girls are both his mates like I am, though he has yet to fully claim me, and yes, I am the Kyuubi no Kitsune." Inoichi asked, "How are you free and why did you attack our village?" With a little anger in his voice. Kyuubi said, "Uchiha Madara. He is still alive somehow and used his Sharingan to control me like he has in the past when he had me attack the Shadaime Hokage. That was why I attacked your village. As for how I am free, I am not exactly free, but I got a little bigger prison now. In exchange for saving the life of the kit's mate there, he allowed me a special clone body with 1 tail worth of chakra to use when he allows me to, though I only can come out for a short period to stretch my legs and then I have to return to the seal. In fact, I need to return now since I am getting weaker since he is passed out now from emotional strain and using so much of my chakra, though I am surprised he fully controlled the second tail of chakra. When he fought the Uchiha he only could just barely control it." Hana asked, "Then why at the end did both him and that girl there start acting like animals?" Kyuubi chuckled and said, "You should know better than anyone. His new bloodline makes him like your bloodline with a few bonuses, but what you just saw was called bloodlust. It's the first time the kit's ever had it though. You can explain it." As she was covered in red flames and disappeared. Ayame looked at Hana and asked, "What is bloodlust?" Tsume sighed and said, "Bloodlust is a condition that is triggered during times of increased adrenaline, and strong negative emotions like hate and anger. It makes it where you have an increase in speed and strength and can you ignore damage to yourself, but you lose the ability to use higher level attacks like jutsu, and it's not until you are either defeated or see the blood of your enemy who has given up fighting that you gain back control." Since Kyuubi said it's the first time he ever experienced it, I am actually surprised that the fighting stopped as easily as it did. Yugito said, "You forgot to mention the other time bloodlust happens." Tsume said, "I know and I don't like talking about that, but since that is exactly what you were trying to do, you can explain it." With a glare. Ino asked, "What do you mean, Tsume-sama? What was she trying to do then to see how strong Naruto was because Raikage-sama ordered her to?" Yugito said, "Since the Nibi no Neko is sealed inside of me, I am also a more feral type of person, and as such I only want the strongest type of mate I can get for stronger children. I wanted to prove myself to him to take me as a mate." I also wanted to knock his teeth down his throat for treating me like a cat instead of a person. Haku said. Then you screwed up from the beginning. Naruto would have only had me as his only mate if Kyuubi hadn't have tricked him into giving her a mate mark first before saving my life by lying about what it was, and then Hinata here earned her place for her years of devotion to him from the shadows and proving to me and Naruto that she would do anything to be by his side, not behind him like a servant or above him like he's beneath her but beside him. Naruto is the type of person who would sacrifice his life to see those he cares for safe and happy. He doesn't care about strength or power or prestige or money. He only cares about being treated as an equal and being happy. That is it. Sakura, who was looking at Haku, asked, "Who are you? I know I seen you somewhere before but I can't remember." Haku said, "Remember the bridge? I told the Uchiha I had two advantages over him. One, we were surrounded by water, and the other, I had one of his hands occupied." As she began one hand signs and stomped her foot as the water in the fountain raised out of the water and formed ice and bonds that attacked and destroyed a training dummy. Everyone was wide-eyed and Sakura was pale and said, but, you're dead. I saw your body on the ground after Kakashi-sensei used the Chidori on you." Haku rubbed her hand across her heart and said, "Yeah, I still have the scar. Now if you will excuse me, but I need to see Naruto-kun." As an ice mirror formed behind her and she walked into it and disappeared. After she was gone, everyone looked around and Hinata was slowly walking away, and Kurenai asked, "Where are you going, Hinata?" Hinata eeped and said, "Sorry Kurenai-sensei. I was just going to check on Naruto-kun also." Kurenai said, "I see you're not stuttering anymore, Hinata. What's changed?" Hinata blushed and said, I am happy." As her breath began to mist and she began to sniff several times and she sneezed and her fox ears and tail appeared, making everyone's eyes wide as it began to snow, and Tsunade said, "Looks like your new bloodlines are activating, Hinata. I wonder how long it will take Kyuubi to give the Byakugan to both Haku and Naruto. I still need to give him grandfather's bloodline more than ever since it's his birthright." While everyone was looking at Tsunade, Hinata slipped away. Ino asked, "Tsunade-sama. I have a question. If Naruto father was the son of your mother and the Sandaime, then is he related to the Shadaime and the Nadaime?" Tsunade took a breath and said, "Normally that answer would be no, but the Senju clan was actually similar to the Hyuga clan in a way. We had a main branch and several sub-branch, but we never enslaved the second branch. My mother was from one of the sub-branches that was married to the main branch several times over. Actually, now that I think about it, my mother was Inoichi aunt," making several people wide-eyed. Inoichi asked, "What?" Tsunade chuckled and said, "Think about it, Inoichi. My father had brown hair like his father, so I had to get my blonde hair from somewhere, and since Sensei had brown hair and since Minato was a blonde like Naruto, they had to get it from my mother. My mother was your father's sister, so I guess that makes us cousins, as would Minato, so Naruto would be your second cousin and Ino third cousin." Inoichi asked, "But how is my clan a sub-clan of the Senju clan?" Tsunade thought for several moments and said, "Let me see if I can remember it right. I know your clan was originally from Grass Country, I believe." Inoichi nods and Tsunade said, "Well, I want to say that the Uchiha clan was hired by a clan called the First Clan. One that your clan was at war with." Inoichi thought a moment and said, "Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that, about 200 years ago, right?" Tsunade said, "Yeah, the Uchiha clan had a policy of destruction or enslavement of their enemies back then. If they couldn't make you a slave, then they destroyed you. As their main rival, we offered protection to all those who hired our clan, and as a sign of trust we would have a member of our clan marry a member of whatever clan joined us, to show that way we are not enslaving those who were under our protection, and also allowed the sub-branches to have a voice of power in the main branch. I know that was how you originally joined the Senju clan. Now you asked how was Naruto actually related to my grandfather. That one is actually a little harder to explain. The Senju clan was originally formed by 5 clans joining together to make it to survive. The Sarutobi clan, Ichani clan, Nara clan, Jurusa clan and the Uzumaki clans. Those 5 clans were originally had got together to fight the Uchiha clan. The new clan those formed together was called the Senju clan. Before they had time to decide who would be leader, the Jurusa clan was destroyed by the Uchiha clan. After that, the 4 remaining clans had a son of the Sarutobi clan and a daughter of the Nara clan, an Uzumaki daughter and a Nara son. Those four became the head of the Senju clan who ruled it for the next 40 years until a son of the first pair and daughter of the second pair were married and they had two children, Hashirama and Tobarama Senju, the Shadaime and Nadaime. When Konoha was going to be created, the Uzumaki family left and went to Whirlpool until it was destroyed. The Nara clan and Sarutobi clan both reformed themselves, and my grandfather and granduncle kept the agreed upon name as a sign of faith and trust in those who had joined it. Was that all correct, Ichigo? I only could remember parts of it until I looked at your records. Ichigo said. Yeah, I think that was right. Shikaku said. So you're saying that Naruto is related to the Nara clan, the Senju clan, the Yamanaka clan, and the Sarutobi clan. If you knew all of this, why are you so upset with Jiraiya when you were just as guilty? Tsunade signed and said. The reason is I had heard about Whirlpool being destroyed and I had thought all the Uzumaki family had been destroyed. Then when I heard the name Uzumaki again, when I heard about Kyuubi being put inside of Naruto, I believed Sensei announcement that he chose the name Uzumaki at random. I thought it was his way of honoring the original alliance that was formed to make the Senju clan. I had no idea that he was an actual Uzumaki, and the few times I wondered if he might have actually been a real Uzumaki. When I heard Jiraiya mention Kushina Uzumaki, I thought that he was probably some very distant relation that wasn't related to me. I had no idea he was so closely related. The Raikage walked over and asked, if I may ask Tsunade, what exactly do you and all these people here plan to do in Kumo? Tsunade frowned and saw several people looking at her when a voice said, before Tsunade answered, that I have a question for you. Making everyone turn and see Naruto walk back out with Hinata and Haku, who both had released their ears and tails along with him. The Raikage said, shouldn't you be listening to the orders of the Hokage? Naruto looked at him and smirked and said, you don't really know me that well, do you? I may have been pissed earlier when I heard that I had family and was denied it because Jiraiya was too busy getting his rocks blown, but that does not mean I am some mindless idiot who lets others decide my life for me. Now you can answer my questions or you can get the out of my uncle's castle. The Raikage raised his ki a little and said, you dare threaten me? Naruto snorts and said, please, I felt worse ki then that from Zabuza, and I faced Orochimaru and Shukaku since then, and both were a hell of a lot more scarier than you. The Raikage said, big words when you have an entire army here to defend you. Naruto said, is that what you think? I need an army to defeat you. I already defeated you by figuring out how to defeat a Kage worst enemy, paperwork, and yet you think that you're better than me. How long have you been a Kage? The Raikage glared at Naruto and said, fine boy, what do you want? Naruto smiled and asked, what is it you want from me and those here? The Raikage said, I came here to offer you a proposal to join my village for you and your team, but I was already on my way here when I received a message about what happened in Konoha yesterday. I had no way of knowing that all these people were going to be here. Naruto said, and what do you have to offer us to join you that we can't get somewhere else? Why should I trust your village when you have already attempted to kidnap one of my mates in the past? The Raikage said, what is it you want? Naruto looked at the people gathered and said, 3 days. Return in 3 days and allow me and my friends and family to discuss what we want. When you return, we will have a negotiation then as to where we will go from here. During that time, if you or any of your men attempt to harass any of my precious people, you will find out I may not be strong enough to kill you or your men, but I can sure the hell try, and I promise that it will be a fight that you will remember. The Raikage looked at Naruto for several moments and said, your nephew is a lot like you, Ichigo-sama. He doesn't take shit off of anyone. I will return in 3 days to negotiate. Yugito, come. As he left. Once he was gone, Naruto went up in smoke, shocking everyone including Haku and Hinata. Everyone was looking around and Hinata activated her Byakugan and after searching for several minutes said, I found him. Drawing everyone's attention. Ichigo asked, where is he? Hinata said, he's laying down out on the sea behind the castle. About a mile out. He training sir with his Kagebunshin but. Haku asked, but what? Hinata bit her lip and said, he has hanged his Kagebunshin to look like the Sandaime Hokage and Jiraiya and he's crying. Tsunade clenched her fist and said, I see. I will go talk with him. Ichigo said, no you're not. Making everyone look at him. Tsunade narrowed her eyes and asked, and why the hell not? Ichigo pointed toward the people behind Tsunade and said, Since Jiraiya is gone, you are the highest ranking Konoha nin here, so it is your responsibility to deal with them. Naruto won't go far, but he needs time to himself for now. You need to use the 3 days he gave you to figure out what you got planned to do, because sooner or later Akatsuki is going to come for my nephew and you have a duty to his precious people also. Tsunade frowned and said, "You're right. Alright, everyone, let's get you settled in and then we can discuss what to do after that. Follow me." As she began to lead them to where they were to sleep for now. Naruto was out on the water when he heard footsteps and he looked and saw Ichigo walking toward him and he sighed and said, "So you found me." Ichigo said, "Hinata actually did, and several people wanted to come talk to you, but I stopped them since they have to figure out what to do now. Also, you needed time to think to yourself." Naruto said, "Yeah." In a dead voice. Ichigo walked past Naruto on the water and said, "Come." As he kept walking. Naruto blinked and got up, seeing his uncle walking away from the castle, and he began to follow. 5 minutes later, a small piece of land about 5 feet wide appeared in the middle of the water, and Ichigo walked to the mini island and motioned for Naruto to do the same. Naruto walked on the island and Ichigo said, "Are you going to let the actions of idiots hurt you and your precious people?" Naruto started to say something when Ichigo said, "All those people back at the castle left their homes because they care for you. They are willing to do anything to show you that they do. Are you willing to do the same for them?" Naruto said, "Yes, of course I would." Ichigo said, "Would you be willing to start a new home away from Konoha and protect it with your life?" Naruto said, "If it was where my precious people are, then yes." Ichigo nods and said, "I want you to do a jutsu with me. Close your eyes and do the hand signs as I call them out and let your chakra mold to it. Don't open your eyes or stop until I tell you to. Will you do this for me?" Naruto said, "What is the jutsu?" Ichigo said, "I need you to have faith in me, nephew. I can't tell you what it is, but it is something that you and your precious people need. Will you do it?" Naruto said, "Very well." Ichigo said, "Good. Now close your eyes. Good, now start with Habi, bird," as he began to call out hand signs as he also did them. 200 hand signs later, Ichigo said, "Repeat after me, Whirlpool no Jutsu." Naruto said, "Whirlpool no Jutsu," as he felt his chakra being drained quickly. The sound of water shifting and falling was heard, and after about 3 minutes the noise of the water shifting was stopped, but the sound of water dripping onto the ground was heard, and Ichigo said, "Open your eyes." Naruto opened his eyes and gasped and said, "What the hell?" Finding himself standing on a huge tower with an entire village made out of stone in a circle on an island around them about 2 miles wide. Ichigo said, "Welcome to the village of Whirlpool." Naruto looked at his uncle, who smiled and said, "I might have forgot to mention that I was one of the advisors to the Rasenkage of Whirlpool also before I became the feudal lord. In order to save our people, the Rasenkage ordered our people to spread to the 4 corners of the world and hide until a time that Whirlpool could be restored. Sis always was protective of her precious people." Naruto blinked and said, "Mom was the Rasenkage." Ichigo said, "The Kyudaime Rasenkage. Whirlpool country had always belonged to the Uzumaki family, and when we returned here after helping to form the Senju clan, we built this village. Now look out on the water." Naruto did and said, It's got a whirlpool around the village." Ichigo said, "That is the natural defense our ancestors put around this village. It protected us until Rain and Iwa tag teamed our village. Iwa used earth jutsu to form bridges to the island so the Rain nins could use exploding Sanban or umbrellas on our village. I had Kumo aid Whirlpool to stop their attacks, but it sparked the Second Great Shinobi War. Kushina, after she ordered our people to spread to all corners of the world, had me aid her in using the Whirlpool no Jutsu to sink the island so our secrets could not be stolen. Do you think your precious people would like to become Whirlpool nins?" As he held out a Hayate with an Uzumaki spiral on it, and Naruto looked at it and took the Hayate and then took the one on his head off and said, Who will be the Rasenkage?" As he looked at them both. Ichigo said, "That would be up to you and your precious people to decide." Naruto thought a moment and said, "You were planning this all along, weren't you?" Ichigo said, "No, I am merely offering you a choice. The choice is yours to make. I merely want to help my nephew as much as I can. That's what family does." Naruto closed his eyes and said, "Let's go talk to the others." Ichigo nods and said, It will take longer to get back because the bridge that connects Whirlpool to the main land is 2 miles south of the castle and neither of us have the chakra or control to run across that water for long. Naruto said. Right, race you. As he jumped off the roof to the next and Ichigo smirked before he shushined to the gates of the village and when Naruto got there he frowned and kept running as Ichigo laughed and raced beside him. They made it back to the castle in about 20 minutes and Naruto laughed and said, "Beat you uncle." Ichigo coughed and said, "I'm not as young as I used to be brat," as he tried to catch his breath. They walked into the main dining hall and saw everyone there and Naruto had a smile on his face making several people happy though they wondered why and then Naruto said, "Hey, have you all decided what to do yet?" Tsunade had a vein on her head and said, "No brat we haven't. I've just been getting caught up on what has been happening in Konoha so far." Naruto said, "Good, then I have another option for everyone here." As he tossed the Hayate in his hand to Tsunade who caught it and she blinked as she saw the Whirlpool insignia and Naruto looked at his uncle with a smirk and Tsunade narrowed her eyes and said, "What's this brat?" Ichigo said, "Naruto and I have resurrected the hidden Whirlpool village. It has been restored just as it was the day the Rasenkage and I used the Whirlpool no Jutsu to sink the village to the sea behind this castle. The Rasenkage final order was for the people of Whirlpool to spread to the 4 corners of the world and wait until it was safe to return. The Kyodime Rasenkage son and I feel that it might be a good time to do so." As he looked at Naruto. Tsunade blinked and said, "Kushina was the Rasenkage. I thought she was only a chunin." Ichigo said, "What better way to hide than to keep her real skills hidden?" As he crossed his arms. Naruto said, "So what do you all think? I haven't really said yes or no. We just rose the village out of the sea to have the option since we need to decide what to do for us." Tsunade looked around and Sum said, "I think we should check this village out Tsunade, at least to know where we stand." Tsunade saw everyone was agreeing with her and she said, "Very well, lead the way brat." Naruto smiled and began to lead everyone to the hidden Whirlpool village.